Hello and welcome to our lesson on domestic and global logistics. In this segment, we shall continue discussing Incoterms. Free on board, FOB, is another essential Incoterm used in international trade that balances buyer and seller responsibilities. FOB Incoterms specify that the seller delivers goods to the buyer when loaded on the buyer's nominated ship at the specified port. The term free indicates the seller's obligation to prepare the goods for export. On board signifies that the goods are on the ship, with the seller retaining ownership and responsibility until loaded. The seller clears the goods for export, but not import. Seller's responsibilities include export packaging, loading charges, delivery to the port, export duty, taxes, customs clearance, origin terminal handling charges, OTHC, and cargo loading onto the carriage. Buyer's responsibilities encompass freight charges, optional insurance, destination terminal handling charges, DTHC, delivery to destination, unloading, import duty, taxes, and customs clearance. The buyer covers charges and risks for dunnage, penalties, or delays. Benefits: FOB provides control, cost savings, shipping method choice, and reduces reliance on the supplier. Seller's responsibility ends upon loading the cargo. Risks: complexity for new buyers, potential upfront costs, and responsibilities. Minimal disadvantages for the seller, who handles export permits and transit to the shipping vessel. Conclusion: understanding FOB is crucial for international trade, balancing responsibilities and risks. Choosing FOB requires careful consideration of your operation. Real-world example: a Vancouver buyer purchasing auto parts from a Chinese seller with FOB origin terms. The seller handles costs and risks to the departure port. If FOB destination, the buyer pays for goods and freight, and the seller delivers to the destination. CIF, cost, insurance, and freight, is a widely used Incoterm in international trade, specifically applicable to sea and inland waterway transportation. Seller's responsibilities under CIF: purchase export licenses, conduct product inspections, handle shipping charges, loading fees, and packaging costs, pay customs clearance, duty, and taxes for exporting, bear the cost of shipping the freight to the buyer's destination port, cover insurance costs up to the buyer's port, handle damage or destruction to the goods, deliver goods to the ship within the agreed time frame with proof of delivery. Buyer's responsibilities under CIF assume costs for importing, unloading, and delivering goods at the destination port, cover custom duty charges associated with importing, pay charges for transporting, unloading, and delivering goods to the final destination. Potential benefits: sellers may benefit from cheaper insurance under CIF. Buyers are relieved from declaring the shipment to their insurer as the seller covers it. Seller's insurance can mitigate losses in case of issues at sea. Potential risks: CIF is specific to certain types of international trade. Buyers may face challenges if their country does not permit CIF imports. Insurers may be hesitant to fulfill claims. The seller bears most responsibilities and risks, potentially favoring the buyer. In conclusion, CIF Incoterms leans towards the buyer by placing more responsibilities on the seller. Both parties need a clear understanding of the agreement to make informed decisions. For example, Cherub orders 1,000 flat-screen televisions from Sony through a CIF agreement with Tokyo. TCL, the seller, handles delivery and loading and pays for insurance and shipping until the goods reach Tokyo. In the event of damage during transit, Best Buy, the buyer, can file an insurance claim to cover the cost, showcasing a real-world example of CIF Incoterms in action. In the complex realm of international trade, various Incoterms, such as FCA, FAS, CFR, CPT, CIP, DPU, and DDP, go beyond the commonly known DAP, EXW, CIF, and FOB. These terms are pivotal in defining the responsibilities, costs, and risks in the global movement of goods. FCA, free carrier. The seller fulfills obligations upon delivering goods to the carrier or a buyer-designated person at a specified location. Risk transfer and buyer liability commence at this point. FAS, free alongside ship. Seller's obligation is met when goods are positioned next to the buyer's chosen vessel at a predetermined port. Risk shifts to the buyer once goods are alongside the ship. CFR, cost and freight. Seller delivers goods on board the vessel, with risk transfer occurring upon boarding. The seller bears freight costs to the named port of destination. CPT, carriage paid to. Seller delivers goods to a carrier at an agreed location, covering carriage costs to the predetermined destination. CIP, carriage and insurance paid to. Similar to CPT, the seller also provides insurance coverage against loss or damage during carriage, with the obligation to secure minimum coverage. DPU, delivered at place unloaded. Replacing DAT, the seller fulfills obligations when goods, unloaded at the destination, are available to the buyer. The seller assumes all risks in transportation and unloading. DDP, delivered duty paid. Seller's obligations conclude when goods are ready for unloading at the named destination, having cleared import processes. The seller covers all costs and risks, including customs duties and formalities for both export and import. This is the end of our lesson. This course is presented to you by South Europe College. Thank you for listening, and see you in our next lesson.